They were mocking me. They were sending me messages talking about taking my little black business now. And now look. Now look what they are partly responsible for. And I just think that's so funny. And I know somebody somewhere punching the air. And I hope they're watching this, because those things that you thought were going to harm me, they were actually tools that I needed to fight more racist people like you.
So this video appeared on my timeline on TikTok, and I thought it was very interesting.
All right, so we're gonna have a visual representation of someone hurting us. So we're living our life. This is us growing and feeding our soul. And then someone comes along, hurts us, nutmeg. That's in there. And then you continue living your life. Blah, blah, blah. If someone comes to you and they go, oh yeah, just get it out. How do you want me to get that out? And this is why it's so frustrating when people are like, I didn't even hurt you that badly. Do you want to try and remove the nutmeg from my smoothie? Like, do you want to, like literally, I don't even think you could, to be honest. The only way in which you could successfully get all of this out is genuinely, where the heck are all my cups? The only way that you could possibly get this out is to literally take the smoothie, put it into an entirely new cup, rinse this cup out, make me a new smoothie, no nutmeg, and then proceed to pour. That is about the only way. And also, I will also add, do we see how you're like, Brooke, there's still nutmeg in here because there was nutmeg? You're so smart. Yeah, there's still nutmeg in this cup, even though we just tried to do the whole thing. So imagine how many times we're gonna have to pour, dump, make new smoothie, pour, dump, make new smoothie, in order for this smoothie cup to be clean. And this is why when people are like, it happened 10 years ago, I don't understand why it still bothers you. There's still nutmeg in my cup.
In order for you to be able to get that nutmeg out of the cup, you have to wash the cup. Yeah, like wash it clean with soap and everything, and then rinse, and then let it air dry, or you wipe with a towel. But you know, the point is you have to wash that cup. That's how you get rid of the problem. I thought this video was very interesting, and some of you might already know where I might be going right now. But just to be clear, this is not me coming for this lady in particular. I think this was an amazing analogy she brought up for those who, for some weird reason, don't understand that the things that you do to people, it leaves a mark. And this mark, even though most times can be invisible to the eye, that doesn't mean the mark isn't there, and they affect us on a daily basis. I just thought it was like very interesting how when it was this analogy, everybody got it with a smoothie and a nutmeg. People got it. But when it comes to history and what we are presently experiencing, they be like, we'll get over it. Even though there are still nutmegs in our cups. And just to be clear, just to put it out there, I'm not saying that all of them are like this. I'm talking about the specific group of people who think this way. But back to the topic. So here you are trying everything within your power to get rid of the nutmeg in your smoothie. And then you find out that they are now paying people for putting nutmegs in people's smoothies. For those of you who don't know, not too long ago, a white woman was exposed for calling a young black child the N-word.
A white mom calls out a black 5-year-old child, calls the child the N-word, okay? She is now raising hundreds of thousands of dollars from bigots across the land. Here it is.
You call him a child? Call the child. It is my own business. You call him. Okay, why don't you have the boss to say it right now again? To say.
You don't go digging through people's.
Somebody digging to you.
A little just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him the little child?
What if he acts like one, he's gonna.
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child 5-year-old the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act.
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech.
Put up the picture full mass. Let's deal with this. A white woman was caught on camera calling a 5-year-old black child the N-word. This was on a Minnesota playground. She raises over $260,000 after the backlash from her insane, extreme, bigoted, and racist behavior. The witness alleged in a separate video that the child has autism. McWhorter said that after he stopped recording, the woman reportedly hurled more slurs and then told him and his wife that they should leave the country. Put her up again. As I've said before, the isms all run together. They work as a team, especially when being spewed like this. So these reports have not yet been independently verified. So I'm going to get into it. The woman in the video has been identified as Shiloh. She has created an online fundraiser seeking $250,000 to relocate out of fear of retaliation after receiving threats in response to the viral video. She also claims in the video that her hateful outburst was due to the child allegedly stealing from her. Now, let's talk about this as if we are adults. The child is being blamed for the adult's racism. Let's start there. Who's childish here?
The last time I checked, people had donated over $500,000 to this woman, and then she increased her goal to $1 million. Like, it's so dystopian, it's crazy. But quickly, let's go to TikTok, where I came by some creators who are trying to make sure that this woman cannot get that money.
Okay, so I haven't talked about this a whole lot, but I have been so bothered by this. When I say I have been disgusted by this, there was this white woman named Shiloh Hendricks who called a black baby the N-word. And then when she was exposed, she went on to raise, I think it's at $1 million now. She has raised $1 million on this crowdfunding page for calling a black kid the N-word, right? I was so bothered by that, and everybody's like, what can we do? What can we do? Y'all know me for cyberbullying people, but that was not going to be enough. So I'm going to tell y'all what I did, okay? I've been thinking, I've been strategizing, I've been doing a little sleuthing, right? So what I thought about as a business owner, what do I want to hit? Do I want to hit her, or do I want to hit the money? So I thought about that. So I started searching and trying to figure out, how can I find this funding source? I'm a business owner, I own a retail store, so I know there is a funding source. There's a pipeline somewhere, right? Give, Send, Go is the platform she uses, but they are not the bank. So I thought, like, we got to find a bank. And most banks are not going to want to be attached to something like that, right? Like, most banks, especially payment processors, they will cut that shit off with any type of doubt or controversy. They'll usually just cut it off, right? So what I did, I used to be a web developer, so I know how to code and I know how to read code. So I went and I broke down the code on Give, Send, Go's checkout page line for line, and there were keywords I wanted to look for, right? So I looked for the keywords and I started looking through the keywords, and I found the keyword Block Inc., right? That's familiar, right? Block Inc. is the parent company of Square. So I went and I did my researching, and it turns out, yeah, that's their payment processor. So I'm going to attach, and I'm going to share ways we can contact both Block Inc. and Square. So we want to hit both of them so they can't ignore us, right? But there is a process to report stuff like that. And I don't know if they just didn't think we'd find it out. But yeah, we found it out. So I'm going to share how y'all can report. Stop reporting to Give, Send, Go. They don't give a. They supported Kyle Rittenhouse, the January 6th rioters. That is literally what they do. That platform thrives off hate. So we don't want to hit them. We want to hit the money. And see, Give, Send, Go is a for-profit company, and they pretty much can do what they want to do. But when it comes to banking and payment processing in this country, we do actually have laws and regulations surrounding that. So any type of bank or payment processor has to have a clear-cut policy that prevents them from funding hateful things like that. So yes, Block and Square both have policies that prohibit the use of their platform for glorifying or amplifying or profiting off of harassment, illegal activities, racism, and yes, hate speech. So she has violated their policy by even having that campaign. I'm telling y'all, stop playing with black women in business and stop playing with black women in tech, because I know good and well y'all didn't think we were going to look into that. I started searching and trying to figure out how can I find this funding source.
This is absolutely amazing, and we got to make sure to blow this creator up. So as we all know, Shiloh Hendricks has raised over $650,000, on her way to $1 million. Give, Sin, Go, doesn't really care. People have tried to report it, doesn't matter. So this creator used her coding skills to dig into the HTML and JavaScript and block Income Square, which has very big policies against hate-filled and discriminatory fundraising. So Kiandria, I hope I'm saying that right, launched a coordinated campaign to flood with complaints, crashing the support bot of Block Inc. and dropping the stock over 24.5% after it crashed. Coders started volunteering to join in and monitor the actual processing, and what you saw is they tried to switch it over to Stripe. She's urging people to file complaints with the FTC and the CFPB. It's only going to help increase the chance of a paper trail and holding platforms like this accountable. Also, side note, she does mention that she is receiving death threats, but to go ahead and tag her in this information. So if you are a white creator particularly, tag the original creator. You can file a complaint with Square or Block. You can email Square directly. You can report to the federal agencies, and then obviously file and tag the original creator that had this idea. And if you're wondering what the end goal is here, I'll let her finish it out.
I'll tell you about this payment processor and their so-called policy. Now, Square and Block Inc. have a policy that details that not only do they have the right to pause your payouts, but they have a right to hold the funds indefinitely. If they find that you violated their policy, or if they stop payment for any reason, they have the right to hold that money to protect them from disputes. So we're hoping that they hold the payout and those assholes never get refunded.
So I've been following this story since I heard about it 2 days ago. Yes, that's how late I got to hear about this story. I live under a rock, guys. But I've been following this story, like I said. And so far, the Shiloh woman has not made any withdrawals. So I'm hoping that all of the efforts this good sister had put in making people aware of what exactly they can do to make sure that she don't get the money, I'm hoping that all of that would put through positively and the money would be denied of her, because ain't no way we're going to let this slide. We're going to let it be that Raycism people can now profit off of their Raycism. That's crazy, especially when it's racism towards a child. No, we can't let that be the world that we live in.
This is a great question too. So I said the FTC, that's the Federal Trade Commission, right? So the Federal Trade Commission is responsible in this country. Right now, they are gutting it. Trump is gutting it, but don't worry about that. That's not the point, because we still need to create that paper trail. You can still file a complaint and document that you did indeed complain, right? So go to the Federal Trade Commission's website. Their job and responsibility is to monitor pretty much shady and discriminatory business practices. So you're going to file a complaint with them, especially if you've ever worked with this company, if you've ever used their products, anything like that. If you've ever had Stripe or Square or Cash App, Afterpay, and they have given you a hard time because of their policy, whether that's closing your account, whether that's delaying your funds, putting you through extra verification steps that's inconveniencing you. If they've done anything like that to you and the best explanation they could give you was their policy, then you need to be asking yourself, why is that fair? Like, why do I have to adhere to that policy, but this lady doesn't, right? And why are y'all making an exception for racism? So that's the thought process we need to have. So go to the FTC, file that complaint, and we are going to complain to the Attorney General in the state of California, right? So Stripe, from my understanding, I think is based in San Francisco. Go check that document. But they're based in California nonetheless. And we are pressing the Attorney General as well to hold Stripe accountable for these shady business practices. But that's not even the end goal. The real plan here is that should they choose to pay her those funds, if we can verify, if they have paid her any money, she's going to have to report that, right, to the IRS. I've heard she's on government assistance, whatever that looks like, that money is going to have to be reported. So if she reports that income, then we are going to hold this payment processor accountable by bringing up civil action against them. So what that looks like is a class action lawsuit. So have you ever seen those commercials that's like, if you or a loved one have ever been, it's that type of thing, right? So if they pay her that money, then we are going to collectively hold them accountable and say, hey, where's my money at? Why didn't you pay me my funds? I would like to be paid my funds, and now I'm owed damages because you have cost me time, mental and emotional distress, and you have upended my business. You have inconvenienced me for this policy that you are not applying fairly to everyone. So that's the plan. I'm so glad that you said this, because this is looking at the bigger picture overall, and this is what you call a takeaway. This is what I want everyone to take away from this situation, right? What we have achieved, what we've accomplished, and the way we have changed things and shifted the tide. They absolutely, these companies, period, absolutely did not think they were going to be held accountable. The ones facilitating, whether it's fundraisers, campaigns, businesses that are just hateful to consumers, discriminating, and they're still operating right. None of these people thought they were going to be held accountable like that. None of these people felt like they had anybody to answer to. So moving forward, we've changed that. And that is a big deal. And I know good and damn well they didn't think a black woman was going to be the one to change that.
Shout out to sis. She's done and is still doing quite an amazing job. She has changed the game. I'll be sure to follow up the story, and if any more updates come up, I'll let you guys know. But for those who might be wondering, because a lot of people have been wondering how they can support her, she came up with a statement that I'm going to be reading for you guys so you'd know how you can give your support to her as well. And she said, many people have reached out asking how they can support me. In regards to that, I would honestly prefer you guys support my business. I create awesome merch that uplifts marginalized voices and pushes for social change. Purchasing from my shop is only helping to amplify my message. However, I have faced daily threats and harassment, as well as people threatening to share my personal information for the purposes of targeting me. I have been advised that I should create an emergency fund to prepare myself for an unexpected expenses or emergencies that might come with this fight. This movement started with one black woman, but now I need to build a team. I have filed articles to organize as a 501c3 nonprofit and will post more details once I receive the proper paperwork. I'm working now to add a page to my own website, giving me complete control over the contributions without fear of mass reporting. In the meantime, I have created a crowdfunding campaign that people can contribute to. It is linked in my bio. I'm going to be linking in the description of this video her TikTok and her Instagram, so everyone can have access to her bio and go give sis the support that she needs. Back to her statement, she says, I keep seeing people say, in quotes, protect her at all costs. Supporting my activist fund ensures that no matter what they throw at me, I'm undoubtedly prepared. If you want to support and protect me, these are the tangible ways to do that. Hashtag square up for justice.
This is also a great question. If you guys want to help, go to the link in my bio, because y'all ain't about to have me hollering all day on the internet. Like, that's not what I'm doing in this case. I'm not interested in that back and forth. Not you, but in general, there's so many people that are using this for entertainment purposes, and this is a real life situation in front of us. So if you really want to help, what we need is for you to be active. Go to the link in my bio and access that Google Doc. I created a document that details every single thing you can do, whether it's filing a report with the FTC, which is what we need y'all to do right now, or complaining directly to Stripe, who's the current payment processor. We need to be active. All of this back and forth is not getting us anywhere. We have a long-term plan. So keep filing these reports, keep sharing, keep pressing them. Let's stick to that plan. So a lot of people have asked me how they can personally support me as an activist and as a creator, right? One of the things y'all can do is just keep liking, keep sharing, keep focusing on this mission that's in front of us, because that is truly what I'm passionate about. But if you want to support me in the work that I do, because this does take a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy, right? You can always go and shop with my brand. The reality is, you know, I'm an adult. I have a life that I have to keep together, right? So anything you can do to support my brand gives me the freedom to keep doing this work. So that makes a difference too. And I do have a nonprofit organization that is called Project 92, inspired by the 92% of women who voted for Kamala Harris. And it is a community organization that pushes for social change. So we use technology, we use entrepreneurial methods, we use uplifting the youth, community outreach. We fuse all of these new modern things into activism to uplift our community. And we are in the early stages of building that as far as, you know, licensing, paperwork. But I am gearing up to make an announcement so people can support that. So my Project 92, all this work you're seeing me do, it won't be just me. Project 92 will be the umbrella that eventually I will be working under.
So fingers crossed. I hope that that woman don't get that money, because nah, that would be crazy. I don't even want to think about the possibility of her somehow getting it. But like I said, any more updates, I will let you guys know. So on that note, we've come to the end of this video. Let me know down below in the comment section what your thoughts are. I'll be catching you guys in the next one.
Okay, I'm glad somebody tagged me in this so that I can respond, because I don't want this type of misinformation spreading. This is what's wrong in our society in the age of the internet. When somebody stands up, when somebody is doing something and actually pushing for a change, y'all nitpick that person so fucking much that the enemy or the person on the other side doesn't even have to. This is absolutely untrue. And I'm not sure what side you're on, but it is very clear you have not been following this story. I went to their website and I broke down their HTML code. This is stuff that is documented. Y'all think I would just make these claims without some sort of proof of that? I said I saw Block Inc. Now follow me here. I saw Block Inc. in their code. And as a business owner, I know Block Inc. is the parent company of Square, a payment processor. Block Inc. is the corporation. They're a umbrella for multiple things, including Cash App, Afterpay, and Tidal as well. So I called out Block Inc. because I saw them there. For sure, I saw Block Inc. I called out Block Inc. and because Square is their payment processing plugin, people use their deductive reasoning to gather that it was Square. And again, if you follow this story, if you see any of the story that happened online, you'll see that multiple people, hundreds and thousands of people at this point have screenshotted their conversations with Square, and Square acknowledged this campaign initially. They were not denying it initially. They acknowledged it, said they were investigating it, and compliance reached out to say they were having it taken down. And now suddenly they've never even been a part of it, right? Now, I want y'all to look through this screenshot, and I want y'all to recognize a PR and legal stunt when you see one. Look at the language. Notice that they say current customer, as in not a customer right now, because they severed ties and backed away and tried to distance themselves when we called them out for that. Also notice that they don't deny being a part of that campaign at all. They just say Give, Send, Go is not their customer. It's also important to note that in this case, Square is a third-party payment processor. They are a separate plugin that you just add to your website. So when you go and you set up one of these campaigns, you select one of maybe like a dozen payment processors, right? And you connect it, and this payment processor is acting as the middleman. They are collecting these funds, and they're going to send it to your bank account. So in this case, maybe technically, legally, Shiloh Hendricks is the customer if she's the one who connected them to that website. But make no mistake, I saw it. Other people have confirmed it too. Block Inc. and Square were connected to that campaign, and they collected up to $600,000 for her. And again, just search the topic, scroll, do your research. There are other people on this app who have actually screenshotted the code and showed that the new payment processor is Stripe. So initially when I saw it and when other people saw it after I called it out, it was not Stripe, it was Block Inc. So now they have switched over to a different platform. And again, I've detailed all of this. There was a period of time a couple of days ago where me and a bunch of other creators were just up in the middle of the night and people were contacting me saying, hey, the campaign isn't accepting payments right now, right? So we monitored it and we broke down the code, and there was maybe an hour or so where they weren't collecting payments in the middle of the night, and boom, just like that, after that time passed, now they're collecting payments via Stripe. Now, as somebody who's a web developer, former web developer, and a business owner, I know that stunt when I see one. Anytime I had to change payment processors, you do it at a time where it's not busy. So the fact that that switch happened in the middle of the night was strategic. And if you can't wrap your head around that, I'll never be able to explain it to you. So in this case, this is the example I give. In this case, let's say we are at an apple orchard. You brought your basket and I don't have mine. So whether these apples fall off the tree, whether you catch them for me or whatever, I ask you, hey, can you hold my apples and bring them home for me when we get done? And you say, yeah, sure. But then somebody comes and they say, hey, you guys aren't supposed to be picking these apples. And you're like, oh, these aren't my apples, they're Kiandria's. You're still holding the fucking apples. You still moved the apples. You still picked these apples illegally, whether it was for me or not. At this point, square denying involvement is like being caught with bricks in your trunk and being like, oh, I'm holding them for a friend. Like, you moved the money. You were complicit, bro.
This last video was very important. I wasn't sure where exactly I should place it in this video. So I thought I should put it at the end, but now I'm thinking I probably should not have even placed it how I placed it. But regardless, I wanted to make sure that I added this clip to this video because, like I said, it's important. And sis is good. Like, see the way they were jumping through hoops, contorting and playing semantics, all to save their behinds. At the end of the day, it might take a little while, but all evil and wickedness that's being done in the dark would certainly be brought to light.
Oh, girl, this is actually the most delicious part of this story because a lot of the stuff that I used to come to this conclusion, like a lot of the skill and the research, I knew where to look because recently my own business was attacked by. So let me explain. I own an online shop. Now, I've been in marketing, web development for like 15 years, but since Kamala Harris announced her campaign, I've kind of ventured into retail and I started making t-shirts with quotes that uplift marginalized voices. We push for social change. You know, we support certain causes, raise money, all of that. That's what I've been doing recently, right? For like maybe the past like 6 to 8 months. And there are a lot of people pissed off by that. Like, we have shirts that are talking about dismantling white supremacy, you know, take down the patriarchy, like calling out blatant. We actually push for stuff like that. And there are people who don't like that. So there was this one day where, I don't know when they organized this, but a bunch of attacked my business by attacking my payment processor. And this is how they did it. They placed a bunch of large orders at once, like hundreds of dollars at once, and they immediately filed disputes. And if you know anything about business and payment processors, especially a small business, that's like a death sentence when it comes to your banking. All those disputes, 1 or 2 disputes is bad, but multiple at once sends off red flags. So that's what happened. And my payment processor had froze all of my funding, held my funds, would not let me process payments. It was a nightmare. It shut operation down for 2 days and I lost a lot of profit after that. And because of that whole debacle, I was forced to do that research to fix it. So when you have a website that accepts online payments and stuff, there's like, you have to do things to make sure you're compliant, right? So I had to learn a lot about payment processors, compliance, all the federal laws and regulations surrounding that. I had to research that to make sure my business was compliant so that my bank and my payment processor would unlock my funds. They were mocking me. They were sending me messages talking about taking my little black business now. And now look what they are partly responsible for. Because if that had never happened, I knew some about web development, e-commerce, and marketing, but I had never even bothered to research that deeply into those laws until my own money was on the line. So I knew where the code would be just because I'm a web developer. Honestly, I've been doing it so long. I've built so many websites. I've looked at so many codes and I've seen so many checkout pages that it's just kind of second nature to me. You know what I mean? When you have a client who has a certain problem, you'll have to go in there and find that bug, find that glitch, read that code, whatever. I've just been doing that for such a long time. But the fact that I knew we could hold them accountable was because of that research I had to do for my own website a few months back. So I started looking, when I was looking at her campaign, I was just like, I wonder if this can't be okay. You know what I mean? Some stuff, you're like, are they skirting the law? Maybe, but there has to be some sort of loophole. This is not all right. There has to be something preventing them from doing this. So I just started thinking, and I was like, looking at the site, like, is this compliant? Again, because I had to make sure mine was compliant, so I know what to look for. And then I was like, that payment processor, that's who we need to think about. Who is the payment processor? Because that's who we can hold accountable. And because of my web development experience, I knew where to go find that. And I just think that's so funny. And I know somebody somewhere punching the air. And I hope they're watching this, because those things that you thought were going to harm me, they were actually tools that I needed to fight more racist people like you.
Wow, 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 wow. So basically, they dug a pit for her to fall into, but not only did she dig herself out of the pit, she got to understand that pit so well to the point where now she can and is using that pit against one of their own. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.